नाज़रीन हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं स्पेंसर मेंडल, जिनकी अफगानिस्तान के 2004 में होने वाले इंतखाबात पर बनाई हुई डॉक्यूमेंट्री गॉड्स ओपन हैंड को बेस्ट पॉलिटिकल डॉक्यूमेंट्री का अवार्ड मिला। उसके अलावा उन्हें अमेरिका और बैनुल-अक़वामी मुतअद्दिद अवार्ड मिले हैं। आइए मिस्टर मेंडल से पूछते हैं कि 2004 और 2009 के दरमियान अफगानिस्तान में जमहूरियत ने कितनी पेशरफ्त की। मिस्टर मेंडल, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर टॉकिंग।
Since the last election, I think one would be hard pressed to find any progress. I think, as recent reports from the country and as everyone has been seeing, the country is deteriorating very rapidly. A growing Taliban and Al-Qaeda resurgence, no respite in the opium trade and Turkey Taliban. So it's deteriorating, I think, since the last election in 2004.
You've met with Karzai and Abdullah, and you've interviewed quite a few political leaders. Tell me, who do you think would be one of the favorites? And
right, obviously, it is an election, but the U.S. and I think the international community is looking at this not as a democratic election, but as one that they can say and point to and say, okay, look, democracy is happening there. But the reality of the situation is that it's not truly democratic. No one expects anyone other than Karzai to win. He's obviously the front runner. He's the incumbent, the current president. He has all the international support. The Americans in the international community have paid over $500 million for this election. There's no way anyone other than Karzai is going to win. That said, there are challengers. There's Abdullah, who doesn't garner the same amount of support across the nation. He's Tajik. Afghanistan can still be viewed along ethnic lines. Karzai is Pashtun. Abdullah is half Tajik, half Pashtun, but most of his support is in the north, in the Tajik areas. So people don't expect him to really present a serious contest to Karzai, even if it was a fair election.
okay, and who is the vice presidential candidate with Karzai, and why is that important for people to know?
Well, Karzai, when he was running in 2004, there's two vice presidents in Afghanistan in the system. One was Karim Khalili, and the other was Zia Massoud, Ahmed Shah Massoud's brother. Karzai has dropped Massoud and has now appointed Fahim, who's one of the most notorious warlords in Afghanistan's recent past. Many have seen that as a maneuver to garner more support from the north and the Tajiks to sort of counteract the support that Abdullah might have. International observers have been up in arms, and rightfully so, as this is a man you're picking to be your vice president who has committed grievous war crimes and laid siege to Kabul and during the Mujahideen infighting days. So it's a interesting choice, to say the least.
Yeah. And Rashid Dostum is also back in Kabul. Mm-hmm. What is the significance of his return?
Well, the significance of his return is it's a power play. It's for Karzai to get support from the Uzbek community. Rashid Dostum was in Turkey. He wasn't going to be allowed to let in. Evidently, there was some backroom deal that Karzai made with him that he'll be allowed back in the country if he throws his support behind Karzai, who then gets support from the Uzbek community in the north.
And Karzai has also done some additional maneuvering to appease Shia votes, if you will. Could you tell our audience what that is?
Well, Karzai has repealed or introduced the new Shia revival law that allows basically Shia oppression of women. They're basically sexual slaves of their husbands because of this law. It goes against the Afghan constitution, which Karzai swore to uphold, and the Americans helped write, and you have the Bonn conference, all that. Now he's going back as another obvious sort of power play to get support from the Shia community, who are the Hazaras ethnically in Afghanistan, and that's another move to sort of garner support nationwide and not just within his own Pashtun community and areas.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Mandell. नाज़रीन, हम बात कर रहे थे स्पेंसर मेंडल से, जो अफगानिस्तान में जमहूरियत की पेशरफ्त से ज़्यादा मुतमईन नज़र नहीं आते। न्यूयॉर्क से कैमरामैन रेमंड पिग्नुको के साथ समा टीवी के लिए इब्राहिम साजिद मलिक।